Good morning, good morning, good morning, and hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of From the Ground Up, real-time issues with real-time solutions for all of our small businesses and MWBE, sponsored by Queen Strategy Partners, three minority women-owned business enterprises that have come together in collaboration to serve the marketplace. Nicole Valentine, Esquire, Danielle Douglas, and myself, Dr. Stacie N.C. Grant. Thank you so much for joining us for season 2 of From the Ground Up. As we told you at the ending of season 1, we are now here every first and third Tuesday of each month. So mark your calendars. Make sure that you join us. Visit queenstrategy.com for more information about what we're doing and how we can support and work with you. And feel free to share this information out with your friends and colleagues that can get value from what we have already shared. And visit us on YouTube at Queen Strategy Partners, and you can get a whole overview of season 1. So we're excited to be here. We hope you enjoyed your MLK Day observations, whichever way you did it, just honoring the dream, honoring the man. And we're looking forward to a great conversation today with my bomb.com co-host, the one and only Danielle Douglas. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning, Miss Dr. Stacie N.C. Grant.
I
and
tell
everyone else who's here with us.
Indeed. It goes too fast. Like, how are we already here? It's another week. It's halfway through the month of January, and we are here. And the good news is, Danielle, we're still in business.
Yes, for sure. That is the good news. And it's a new year, so we get to try new things.
Absolutely.
Right? Well, you don't need a new year to start new things, but oftentimes people do start new things in the new year. And guess what? We did that, right? So that ties in right into season 2 and what we're doing. And we kind of shook things up this season, right, Miss Dr. Stacie?
Absolutely. You have to change and adapt. If you keep doing the same thing that you've always done, you'll keep getting the same results that you've always gotten. So being open to change. And, you know, we started the season, Danielle, and I love how you paraphrase and explain it about pivoting. Who didn't have to pivot in 2020, right? Who didn't have to make a change? And I love the way you summarize that for the audience. So if you're new, I'm going to ask Danielle just to start us off from whence we came. And here we are now with new things.
Yes. Well, you know what? When we generated this idea, we came up with providing real-time solutions for real-time issues. It was really an outgrowth of COVID-19, right? And so we were like, business owners are trying to adapt and figure things out, and we want to be right there providing those solutions to help them do that. So I think we did a really good job, Dr. Stacie N.C. Grant. What do you think? You know, we gave the folks a foundational platform, right? Like all the things that you should be considering in regards to the pillars of your business, from, you know, finance to marketing to operations, like human resources. And so we wanted to shake things up again in season 2 up from the ground up. Right? Because what we realize is that as we're building the capacity of business owners, we have truly capitalized on JVs. And so we really wanted to take season 2 to really drill down and talk about how you can use strategic partnerships, joint ventures, collaborations, however you want to call it. But this is the time to figure out who your tribe is, who your community is, and see how you can help one another and make the sum greater than the individual parts.
Absolutely. And good morning, Jason. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in and joining, and everybody else that's coming on into the conversation this morning. And what you said is so key, Danielle. What we can see in the trends as people are adjusting and figuring out how they took the information that we shared in season 1, who has a like mind, a similar focus, a similar audience, a similar tribe that you can collaborate with and not try to do it alone. I mean, can you think of some of the big box names that all of a sudden we're seeing collaborating and joining together, some closing, one opening? I'm just thinking of a telecommunications company. that all of a sudden they now are like, whoop, we need to merge our businesses so that we both can survive.
And you know what, Stacie? We're right here in Southeast Queens, right by the JFK redevelopment project. You know how many JVs with these developers and their GCs, their general contractors, where they're coming together to collaborate and have joint ventures to maximize on a $13 billion project. It's happening on the big level, and we need to bring it down to the street level, to the grassroots level, to make it happen.
Absolutely. You know, I continue to look at business models that have successful track records, right? Success leaves clues. So if, like you said, you can do a telecommunications company that was independently running, merge with another so they can conquer more market share, and you have these developers that are coming together, I think I'd rather take 1% of 13 billion than 0% of nothing.
I say, look, 1% of 13 billion is still
not too shabby.
Not too shabby. I think I actually could retire on 1% of 13 billion. What about you?
Absolutely. Like, I'm okay with that. You don't have to be greedy. But the challenge is, like we're saying in this season, we're going to be bringing to you some information to really help you think about how you can level up, you can scale. And yes, we will be talking about JVs. Absolutely, Jason, because he knows about the other verticals going on in our life. And that is our goal, like how to do it. And we're going to start the conversation today, right? That can help you really understand, are you ready to JV? Because there's some things that you might have to go in, not just in your own personal assessment of your business, but with your advisors, with the people who are on your team. Remember, we talked season 1 about who is in your back end, you know, your attorney, your accountant, your bookkeeper, people that intimately know where you're going in your business. So that's also some conversation. So there's work to be done. You know, nothing is just, you know, if I was a genie, what was that show, Danielle? The one, I Dream of Genie. Like, there's sometimes I wish I could blink and something happens, but that's not reality.
If I was in I Dream of Genie, we just talk about that 1% of 13 billion. We wouldn't even have to be speaking about JV's collaborations. We would just blink and have that 1% of 13 billion. Actually, we'll have the whole 13 billion.
Exactly. And then we'll be the one to divvy it out.
But wait, I have to also say, you know, I saw that Jason asked a question, and it's a little nuanced, but I think it's really important. Because he asked, will there be a course in DDU? And we know that DDU is Destiny Designers University, right? Mm-hmm. And so the beauty of JVs is when you have your own business, like I have Inspire Enterprise, Dr. Stacie N.C. Grant has, you know, Destiny Designer University. But when you come together, you can form a separate entity. So yes, Jason, we will be having a course, but it's going to be under Queen Strategy Partners. That's the beauty of JVs, that you still could do what you're doing with your business potentially and still collaborate with others to do other stuff. And
multiple streams of income. And then you get to cross-pollinate. Right? Because then we collaborate with our brands. You know, you had your conference last year, your first one, which was amazing. And then you participated in our Faithpreneur weekend. So JVs build your capacity to do more. So you have multiple streams, multiple verticals that you're working on that ultimately are helping you to create the legacy that you want. What is going to be said for you? Do you want to sell and, you know, go off into the sunset with your money? Do you want to leave your business to family? Or so there's so many options. I'm excited about what we'll be getting into for season 2, because it'll help you with your business really be able to thrive. That was our initial goal with setting up from the ground up, like literally building it and doing what you need to do in real time. Because as we see in the marketplace, things are changing rapidly. There are a lot of adjustments to be made, and we don't know what's to come with a whole new administration trying to implement change and give access to small businesses still being able to do what they need to do in this economy. So there are a couple of questions that we want to start off asking you as we prime for the information that we're giving you. So when you think about a JV, one of the things that could be beneficial to you is a question: what are you trying to accomplish? Like, why would you join a JV? What is it that you're looking for? Because the clearer you are about your intention, is the easier it is that I would offer you start to think about what kind of JV makes sense for you. Right, Danielle?
I think that's so important. So important. Yeah. And there's different things that people are trying to accomplish. And you know what, Stacie, when you really think about it, even though we have, it's not just myself and you, there's also Nicole that's part of our joint venture. We all may have come into the joint venture for different reasons, right? Like, that's very important. So it's clear. And that's why it's important. We're going to talk about it in the second question. So I don't want to jump the gun, but that's why it's very important for you to do a business assessment and a personal assessment, because out of that, you will understand what your needs are and why you're even seeking to potentially participate in a joint venture.
Absolutely. Because is it something that it's scaling your revenue? Is it maybe capacity? Maybe you have a limited amount of staffing and employees. You JV with somebody else who might have a limited amount, but then together you widen your ability and capability to be able to work on different projects. Maybe it's about scaling and having working capital. So you have your working capital joined with another person's working capital, then you create more capital. So it's really just, what are you trying to accomplish? Your resources. Maybe one person has a brick and mortar that can accommodate certain things, and other people are consulting or doing it from a home-based office. So you really need to understand what it is that you want to accomplish. That's question number one when thinking about a JV. And everything isn't for everybody. And there's nothing that says you can't create your own reality. Right, Danielle? We have a hybrid of what we do for Queen Strategy Partners that doesn't look like certain JVs, where it's a one-off situation, a particular project, you get together for that project, you execute, split the revenue, and you're on about your business, versus a combination of how do we continue doing that work and create a space, as we have, for an entity to stand alone as well as our individual businesses. So what are you trying to accomplish? Question number one. And I'll let you hit question number two, Danielle.
Well, question number two is what I kind of jumped the gun about, but it's really important. And that is doing a business assessment as well as doing a personal assessment, right? Because one, from a business perspective, you really need to understand, as you alluded to, where are there gaps in your business, especially now. You brought up a great example, Stacie, when you said somebody may have a brick and mortar, and then somebody may have have their strength in social media, but an e-commerce platform, right? And there may be synergy there. There are people who are really good at what they do, but they're not necessarily good in regards to administrative or strategy or whatever. We all have our skill sets that we shine, and then other areas that we are weak. And when you are, let's say, a 1 or 2 person operation, and you really don't have the staff to compensate for your weaknesses, right? Because staff is supposed to kind of pick up the slack for that. That's even more reason why you should think about entering to a collaborative agreement. So that's really, really important, because then you can be intentional about the person or the individual that you're looking to go in business with. It's very important. And when I say person or individual, we are individuals, but we did come into, again, the JV already having an established business, right? So we're assuming the folks understand that these other people that you are seeking, they have an established business. And so you have to ensure that that synergy is there on a business level as well as a personal level. So it's critically important that you do that before you even start the vetting process of looking and seeking potential partners to go into a JV agreement with.
Absolutely. And building on what you, yes,
Mhm.
sorry, Danielle. So building on what you said, it's also, what are your morals? What are your values? What are the things that are important to you? When you just mentioned about that personal piece, is that potential partner in alignment? Do you believe the same things? Because that will affect your assessment. They can be phenomenal in business and they might have an incredible capacity financially, but does it align with what you believe and who you are as a person, or what sort of value-based model you've created for your business? So I think it's very important for us to think about how you really create and look for those synergies, as Jason is saying, when you do the assessment. So that was number 2. That was
But
amazing.
I have to say something. I want to add something to that, Stacie, because I think it's critically important. What you brought up, the values, is so important because that dictates behaviors, right? And part of that is really, when we drill down a little more with behaviors, is work ethic. Because if you are about like quality, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, if someone else is they're sloppy about how they approach things, because again, a lot of times as business owners, we're jack of all trades, master of none. Like, we're doing multiple things, and oftentimes we're not, business owners, they may not be good with follow-up, they may not be good in other things, they could be kind of sloppy. And so if you're not that type of person and you have like this, about quality type A, and that person is kind of don't dot their I's and cross their T's, you need to take that into consideration, because guess what? Those are the things that will cause you to have a divorce in the JV world.
Absolutely.
It sounds simple and stuff, but my cousin says with marriage, and I'm sure you could attest to this, Stacie, it's the day in and day out things that'll get you in your marriage, right? The equivalent of like leaving the toilet seat up and things like that, because you got 3 men in the house with you, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, indeed. But that would come. I mean, that's a great point, because a lot of times we talk about the nice side of the potential of JV, but there can be a downside if this assessment is not clear in the beginning. If you're not aligned, it's like, we're filing for divorce. Like, this is not working, right? This is not working. And look, here's the thing. We're not going to get into it in this show, but I think there's space for us to talk about, what if you do get in and it doesn't work? How do you have a peaceful divorce, right? Because there's sometimes when a JV might not work, and you might not know that it doesn't work until you're in it. And you realize that, maybe they sent their representative and something just doesn't line up, and it's okay. I feel like one of the things that we've learned through 2020, especially in the last year, most of us knew it before, is just extending some grace. Because things are going to show up, things are going to happen that you're going to have to address, and you just have to be flexible, willing, and nimble to do it early on, so that you don't stay in a situation that's not beneficial or not moving in alignment with where you're going in your life and in your business. So assessments lead into all of that, because it helps you to really monitor and manage what you say yes to. It's the bottom line.
That is so true. That's so true. Yeah.
So,
And you know what? The crisis mode, like something like COVID-19, will definitely give you an opportunity in situations like this. Right now, it's COVID-19, but there may be other things that your business or the person as an individual in their personal life will be in crisis mode. And in that situation, that is where you truly see the character of the individual. Right. And so that something like that can make you or break you.
Absolutely. We just celebrated Dr. King's national holiday. That was one of the things he talked about. The measure of man is not where you stand in moments of peace, is in moments of controversy and all sorts of tragedy. That really shows you what you're built and made of. So that's a great point as we move into number 3. What capacity are you bringing to the JV? So are you showing up offering financial capacity? Is it your intellectual property and that's your capacity that you're bringing? Is it resources? So it's the next step of the assessment, being clear to say, well, here's what I can offer, or this is what I am bringing, so that you know and you can own the value that you're adding. Because why should someone consider being in a JV with you? You know, just because you're nice or you have a good attaché case or you smile nice for the camera, like that's not enough. Like there has to be a little bit more substance to who you are, and that can be measured in a variety of ways. It's not always just the financial piece. So thinking about that more broadly opens you up to how you negotiate in a conversation with somebody about a potential JV.
And you know what, Stacie, to build upon what you said, that is really, we talked about marketing. You're going to have like potentially a marketing message, right? Mm-hmm. Because just like our situation, we spoke about this for 2 weeks ago. And we said that we all entered that room not knowing why we were there. Mm-hmm. And so if an individual that you think may be a good fit, potentially, if they are not seeking a JV and you're trying to sell them on the benefits of a JV, you're definitely going to have your, your marketing message and really be clear and intentional about how you approach them, and to be able to demonstrate the benefits of why it could be great for the both of you. Because if somebody's not looking for something, they may not necessarily feel the need to enter into this partnership or collaboration.
That demonstrating the benefit is key, right? I think that's something. I'm actually just making a side note, because as we're talking about the things that we're doing in this season and really going in deep on how we can utilize the concept and idea of JV and collaboration to really grow and scale, that demonstrating the benefit also helps the business owner understand your value. Because a lot of times you're producing something in the marketplace and you're sharing your service, your product, your real estate endeavor, whatever it is, you're contracting, but you don't understand your value and you don't understand how valuable you are. So being able to demonstrate that benefit gives you a chance as well in your copy and your marketing as your individual company to be able to stand on firm ground saying, hey, this is who I am. And it's real easy for me to say, here's what I'm bringing and here's what I feel can be a value add. So as we round out the conversation with some of the examples that are out there, I'm going to reiterate one of the ones we shared from the first season. Remember, Danielle, when everything started with COVID and there was a transportation company at JFK, that was one of their main clients. People stopped traveling. So everything was shut down. They were losing their normal revenue. They had to do exactly what you talked about in our very first episode, was pivot. So they had to figure out a JV. They had to figure out a collaboration. Like, how are we going to survive? And they ended up working with a local restaurant who they had to close the doors for in-person dining when we were going through that segment, but they still needed to make money. They still needed to figure out how their brick and mortar was going to survive the challenges. So what did they do? They realized there was a common need, money. 2, there was a common audience and niche, the community. 3, what could they do coming together as a JV? So one person had the transportation vehicles, the other person had the food. So they joined together so they could deliver the food to the clients in the community. So they were able to collaborate and stay afloat until things started moving and opening up. So that was a prime example of assessing what they had. You have a whole fleet of vehicles sitting doing nothing, and you have a whole restaurant that nobody can come in. Now you open up economy by them being able to move the food into the hands of the niche. And who's the niche? The community who needed to eat because they were tired of the Rona. They were tired of cooking at home and they needed somebody to deliver some food. So that's just a real-time example of how you can utilize what we're sharing with you to think differently about who you could potentially collaborate with, right, Danielle? And I know there's some different examples of collaboration in JV we'll go through, but as we start to hone in on how we move forward, just evaluate who out there is in a similar marketplace or offers something that can enhance who you are and how you're showing up.
Yes. And you know what, Stacie, we decided to really drill down on this for multiple reasons. I mean, that example you gave is a great example because I think oftentimes, one, we really, as a community, don't really consider JVing, in partnership and what that looks like. And now more than ever, like the example you gave really demonstrates the need to collaborate and come together to help one another, that it's mutually beneficial for all parties. Now more than ever, we need to think about how we can help one another thrive. And that's just really critically important. And the thing about building your capacity through collaboration is that it's almost like, in my mind, if I could give this analogy, and hopefully you guys get it, hopefully it is a good analogy, is that we talk about with marketing, word of mouth is the best form of marketing because you don't spend any money, right? With word of mouth. It's the same thing with partnership. I mean, you may spend some money, but what I'm saying is that it's an opportunity for you to build your capacity in a way that's very practical and very intentional. And it could open up not only, to greater revenue, but new markets, a new set of customers. It has a lot of benefits when and if you find the right partner to go into a collaboration with.
Absolutely. That's key right there as we talk about these top 3 things that you are considering if you're ready to JV, and really looking at, I think, Danielle, part of the things that we might have noticed in community when you say it's a challenge for collaboration, sometimes we see people as competition, and that competition, it blocks your ability to see the potential because you feel like, oh, if I collaborate, that might interrupt my ability to do X, Y, and Z instead of changing the way we look at it. Wayne Dyer has a quote that I love that he used to say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if we can change the way we look at the potential of a collaboration, the potential of being able to partner with somebody that has some additional resources, we can really see things differently. Because sometimes I see businesses suffering in silence. Like they're not raising their hand and say, hey, let me talk to this one because we're in a similar place. Let's use where we are in community with the JFK redevelopment. We're so owning our wonderful companies, which are amazing, but it could do even more if you just opened up to the possibility of what you could do with another business and be able to go after a particular contract or opportunity, because we do deal with MWBEs. And at the end of the day, it's about getting that contract, about building those relationships so that you are able to position yourself for a bid, to be considered, and see yourself in community as someone who really has a high standard of how you operate. And now you're building another boss business owner like a Danielle Douglas into. You're like, wait, there's somebody to talk to. Like a person who's going to award the bid is looking and saying, wow, they were very creative. This is interesting. Wow, they're doubling their capacity because of how they came together. People do it all the time. And be quite honest, Danielle, we also know the truth. People do JVs and they can't stand each other. There's some predominantly run businesses that they're all about the greenbacks. So if they can partner for a 30-day period, for a year, for 2 years, because they know what's going to come at the end, they get over ego and they get over emotion and they just focus on execution to get the bottom line. So that's another part of it that we'll be able to talk about too.
And you know what, Stacie, you brought up, I had a light bulb moment as we were talking about some of the reasons people may not want to JV. Part of it is also I think, are concerned about the perception of success. And you said people suffer in silence because they want to have that mystique or the perception that they're doing really well. And we want everybody to do really well. But it doesn't mean, regardless if you're doing well, or especially if you're not, you definitely should be considering collaboration. It doesn't matter, where you are as it relates to that, you should be considering collaboration.
Absolutely.
And Jason, I just want to say that because I think sometimes it's the perception of we don't want people, how you open a closet and all the stuff starts falling out. It's kind of that. People are afraid to open up the closet and kind of show what's really in there, So
absolutely. That's a great point. And like you said, no judge, there's no judgment zone here from the ground up. Wherever you are, just work on the things that you need to work on for your business to thrive. And Jason asked a question about, can you work on the JFK redevelopment if you're not in New York? So this particular project is really germane to the areas that are affected by the redevelopment. So they're looking for a utilization goal of MWBEs and small businesses that are in the catchment area of the redevelopment. But there are multiple redevelopments projects that are happening all across the country. So the lesson there, and that's a great question because now we can also drive this home for those who are viewing from all over. Be in contact with the U.S. Small Business Association. Each state has its own entity, right? They have their own way in which they vet, they hire contractors from communities. So if they have an MWBE program and you qualify for that, get certified so that you can be able to participate in the bids that go out in your state. Every state, there's infrastructure in every state. There are projects in every state that vary on the kind of business that can go after and compete for these contracts. People, i.e. me, years ago used to think it was all about just construction. Like you had to be in construction, have a construction company in order to do business with the government, in order to do business with your state, in order to do business with the country. No, there are other professional services as well. And there are very unique key engineering and construction companies that are a part of that for the obvious reason. If you can bake a good cake, I sure enough wouldn't trust you on building a bridge, right? So there's two different things, two different specialties and two different sorts of training. But as you get more familiar with how your state government works, how your city government works, and internationally, every government has to have the businesses that they do business with in order for things to function. So it's being able to do that research on your own and what do you have to offer that they can buy. I mean, something as simple as producing pencils. Like it blew my mind when I started really looking at supplier diversity, right? Really looking at what's out there. You could be a quiet millionaire supplying pencils and pens to the New York City Board of Education. Okay, so it's really understanding what you can learn about what is being offered and how you provide that solution, how you provide that product, how you provide that service. And you're doing business now with a state government entity, whether it's state, citywide, everywhere across the United States of America, people are doing business. Are you?
Yes. And you know what? I just want to reiterate that one, that's why we came together, right? To capitalize on contract opportunities. But in regards to, in the spirit of collaboration, as the example you mentioned earlier, Stacie, it could be, on a community level or a private industry that you decide you want to pursue opportunities there, as well as the government sector. So don't think that collaborating with others only works in a particular sector. Again, it's about you doing the business assessment, doing the personal assessment, understanding what you bring to the table, understanding what opportunities you would like to pursue, right? Maybe that you want to enter a new market, you want to continue to build upon the market that you're currently in, and then seek that other individual / organization that could be a great potential collaborator to do that.
Absolutely. So are you ready to JV? Are you ready to go on the journey with us for season 2? We want to make sure that we share some of the key things that you should consider if you're open to doing it, so you can implement a lot of what we've already shared with you and giving you so many experts that have allowed a space in place for you to do some introspection. Like, where is my business from the ground up? We are going to thrive. We don't want anyone not to be successful on our watch. We're doing our own part to show up and do the things that we need to do individually and collectively as Queen Strategy partners. And we want to see everyone shine. At the end of the day, it's no fun if we buy ourselves. We want more people coming to the party, and we want everyone to be able to really thrive in this economy. It's possible. There's a lot of money transferring hands. It's still happening. Yes, there's some challenges that we're seeing in the world and in our country, but trust and believe, people are quietly very happy going to the bank. And we want to make sure that the masses in our community are a part of that reality. So we look forward to continuing every first and third Tuesday of the month. That is our new schedule, From the Ground Up, coming to you each and every week. And we want you to please connect with us. We have a checklist on our website. So if you go to queenstrategy.com, you can actually just download a checklist to help jumpstart your conversation around, are you ready to JV? And you can find that right there on our downloads page. And then, of course, you can connect with us and see our previous season on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to let my illustrious, beautiful, dynamic co-host, this is my sister from another mister. I'm just so thrilled that we get to do this work together. We get to grow together. We get to sharpen iron, right? Iron sharpens iron with the three of us and Queen Strategy Partners. And then the beauty that Nicole can be behind the scenes doing other things while the two of us are here. That's power in JV. We are the story. And I am so glad that you are a part of witnessing what we do together. So Danielle, over to you as we wrap up for today.
So I just want to say, one, we wish you nothing but success in 2021. And what we want to continue to do is stretch your thinking about how we started this, and that is pivoting, right? But in order to pivot, you got to pivot in your mind first and really build your capacity and stretch your approach about your business, the marketplace, and how you're going to pursue success. And so we are really, really excited because we do believe we are the subject matter experts when it comes to the power of collaboration. Why? Because we're living it, we're doing it, we've been successful at it, and we are really believers in this being a great way for you to build your capacity. So we're looking forward to taking this ride with you. We hope that we've opened your mind just enough that you continue to show up every 2 weeks to learn more about the power of collaboration and how it can take you and your business to the next level. So until then, make it happen. We're looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, and have a good 2 weeks.
Have a good one. And thank you, Jason, for doing such a great job scribing for us today. So he took all the notes. Make sure you catch it on the replay. Bye-bye, everyone.